Good morning, brothers and sisters. I hope you continue well and safe as we continue another week of dealing with the unprecedented. As we think about our circumstances and our situations right now, we need to recognize something about our God. Job thought during his trials and his difficulties that somehow God had forgotten about him, that he had gotten missed somewhere along the line. And he was quite concerned about such a situation as that. And yet, as we go to Psalms 139, we find out something about our God. He has not forgotten about us. He is fully aware of our circumstances and knows what's going on in our lives. Beginning in verse 1, Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know my sitting down and my rising up. You understand my thought afar off. You comprehend my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. For there is not a word on my tongue, but behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. You have hedged me behind and before, and laid your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high. I cannot attain it. Now, David probably wrote this, and David lived at a time of world population that would have been much, much smaller than the one in which we live today. And yet, what David writes here is just as true today as it was in his time. And so when I think about verse 5 or 6, that this knowledge is too wonderful for me, it really is. Because as God could be conscious of David in his time and what was going on in his life, God is conscious of you and me and our time and what is going on in our life. And that is amazing to me. How can God know what's going on in the lives of all of his children? Well, that's one of those things we have to learn to accept by faith, and one of those things that helps us recognize just how infinitely greater God is than we are. He knows what's going on. He knows our sitting down. He knows our rising up. He knows what we're thinking about. He knows what we're struggling with, what we're rejoicing with. All of these things, God knows and God cares. Jesus brought this out for us very clearly. He talked about in Matthew sparrows being sold for a copper coin. And then in Luke, he talks about you could get a free sparrow for the same price. So there was a free sparrow given. If you bought a certain number, you got a free one. And yet Jesus in Luke's account says that that free sparrow could not fall to the ground without God's knowledge. And that's exactly what God told Job when he responded to him. I know when the animals in the forest bring forth their young. God has his eye on all of his creation. Not just us, but all the creation. He knows what's going on at every spot on this earth right now. And that knowledge is truly amazing. But that's our God. That's who he is. That's why he is God and we are people. But does he care about our circumstances? Does he care about our situation? Oh, yes. Oh, yes, he does. And you don't ever have to worry about that. He's going to take care of his own. He always has, and he always will. May God bless you. May he keep you. May he take care of you in all of your life.